a lot of seminars and classes. We have been trying to get him for this class, but we have been unsuccessful. But last week, somehow Vaishish Das got him here, and this week Vaishish Das has to go for another class, so he couldn't come, and so we kindly invited him back here. So we're very grateful and thank you for Mr. Matthew to be here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaste. Were you all here last week? I was. Last week, Vaishesh Prabhu, we talked about the yoga ladder. I was going to review that a little bit, and then we didn't talk about the top rung of the ladder, which is called Bhakti. Before that, last week we talked a little bit about meditation. So I wanted to just go over that again, because there's many different methods of meditation, and people have different concepts about meditation. And do any of you practice meditation? What do you do? Basically, my understanding of meditation is that it's being conscious that you are aware, which is something we don't take time to notice. Usually we're thinking about our life, but we're not directly noticing our life. We don't intentionally look, or like self-inquiry, for example, introspection. And it's actually, in our society, in our time, it's a little bit difficult to notice that you are awareness. If I ask you if you are aware, most people will say yes. But if I ask you, are you awareness? People start thinking about that. And you may not be, you might not notice that is a dimension of yourself that you're mostly not aware of. And in fact, the more we are lost in the mind, thinking about the past or the future, the direct experience that I am awareness becomes obscured by constant thinking. So meditation just means to bring your attention to the present moment, to notice where your attention is. Like right now, do you notice where your attention is? What you're listening to me. Very good. But while I'm speaking, some of you may be thinking about, gee, what am I going to have for dinner? Isn't it? So then we'd say you're not really present. Your attention is also in the mind, thinking about the future. Yeah. So the beginning, no matter what method of meditation you are following, there's different traditions and methods. But the first step is to bring your attention to the present and to notice that my attention's in the present, and then to notice your experience in the present moment. And when you do that, you'll begin to notice that you are awareness, and you're the one experiencing. And that is always here, is always now, and the more you begin to notice it and feel it, not so much think about it. You can't really think about it. It's directly noticing that I exist. And immediately you start, think about what does that mean? You notice, like sometimes when you get up in the morning, it's a sunny day, and you take a deep breath, and you just say, "Oh, it's good to be alive." Or you're out in the woods camping, and you go to the ocean, and suddenly you're not thinking about your life so much. You're just enjoying that moment of life. Your mind is slowed down a little bit, and there's some attention to noticing life in this moment. So meditation just means bring your attention to the present moment, and to notice your experience in the present, and then to notice that you're the one experiencing. And usually we use the breath, or we use a mantra, like we're going to introduce today. Something where you keep bringing your attention back to what's going on in the present. Out of the mind, out of the world of thinking about the past or future. There's nothing wrong with thinking about the But generally, we're not in control of that. We're just habitually thinking. Then at times we lose touch with who we are, what we are, and that direct experience of life in this moment. Then we feel separated, dissatisfied, fearful. So when we're just present, like right now, you all notice where your attention is right now. It's present. And in this present moment, you feel you exist. You notice you're alive. And in this moment, without going into the past or future, you have a problem. How do you feel? Good. Feel alive. Well, that's the beginning of meditation. And so just for right now, if you wouldn't mind just closing your eyes. And bring your attention to your breath, because you can only breathe in the present moment, right? So if you want to meditate, just bring yourself present with something that's present with you, like your breath. Take a deep breath. And then take another deep breath. And one more deep breath. Bring your attention to your hands. Feel life, consciousness in your hands. No thinking required. As soon as you put your attention to your hand, you feel your hand. Right? Now shift your attention to your feet. And feel your feet. You know your feet by feeling, by consciousness, not by thinking. You know water when you taste it, not by giving a lecture about it. So bring your attention to your abdominal region, around your navel, and then to your chest area, to your throat, to the top of your head. And as you breathe in, feel the top of your head. And as you breathe out, allow your consciousness to go all the way down to your feet. Up and down, back and forth. Life in this moment, life in the body. And bring your attention to the breath as it's leaving your nose, in and out. And feel how consciousness is illuminating your whole body with awareness. Feel as if you're breathing from every cell, full of life, full of illumination. Take a deep breath. And gradually bring your attention back to this room. Notice that before you open your eyes, just notice that you're in this room. Feel your body on the chair. Notice, where's my attention right now? Is it present? Am I feeling my life in this moment? Or is it somewhere else? And then gradually, when you're ready, allow those eyes to open. And just notice how you feel right now. You're all seasoned meditators. You can do this many, many times a day. It's not necessary to go to a cave and meditate for 20 years. Every now and then, even when you're at work, you can take a present moment break. Even if you go to the restroom, there's no need to think while you're washing your hands, right? You can just feel the water on your hands and notice your life in this moment. And more you'll start to see the difference between life in the world of the mind, which is actually illusory, and life in this moment, which is the only time you can notice your life or live. And in life, consciousness doesn't have a past or a future. It's always now. It's always complete. It's not separated. It's just when we don't feel our life and we get lost in the mind where we feel separated, we feel dissatisfied. So you can do this many, many times a day as soon as you just gently remember to do it without any particular practice or routine. And gradually you'll start to notice an aspect of yourself that people rarely experience. But it's actually what we're always, it's what everyone's looking for. Where's that peace? Where is that feeling of connectedness? Where's that inner joy? It's always right here. But usually it's obscured from our awareness by constant thinking. Well, that's my favorite topic. Now, last week, Vaisheshiki Prabhu, he discussed about the yoga ladder. He talked about karma yoga, which is selfless action, where you act, but you're unattached to the results. You give away your results. And by doing this, you attain a certain level of peace of mind. We're always worried about the end results, right? We're holding on to what we have. It pulls our attention away from the self and into the mind. And when one reaches a certain level of peacefulness, like karma yoga, then one can begin jnana yoga, which is called the yoga of knowledge or self-inquiry. And then one can begin jnana or meditation, where you not only question who am I, but you begin to experience it like you just did. No one has to tell you you're alive. By your direct experience, you begin to notice what your inner world really is. And then gradually you begin to notice that actually I'm consciousness, I'm eternal consciousness. And this consciousness is coming from a divine source. And then one gets Bhakti. But one doesn't have to go through this yoga ladder. One can actually begin Bhakti Yoga from the beginning. Bhakti Yoga, devotion, contains all of these other yogas. But I want to backtrack here because we didn't discuss this last week. And this is actually, we call this the fall of the jiva, or the Atma. So pure consciousness, the individual consciousness, this is called the Atma in Sanskrit. Self, and the source of consciousness is called the Paramatma. The divine source, supreme source. Which they're really not different. If you think of the sun, the example of the sun, you have the sun and then you have the sun ray. The quality of heat and light is the same. And so the quality of consciousness in Sanskrit is called Sat Chidananda. Sat means eternal. Chit means conscious, aware, and Ananda means joyful. So our inner nature, if we can access it, if we can pull ourselves out of the mind of Atma, we get to access it, we get to sense our eternal blissful nature without any external endeavor. But this becomes obscured when we ignore it. So when we're always thinking about the past and the future, we're actually ignoring our life in this moment. When we bring our attention to a tree or a plant or the sky, a beautiful sunrise, how do you feel? How do you feel? Good. You feel joyful. It's there. But normally, we don't notice it. We don't notice our our nature, our true nature. And we fall into what's called ignorance, so we mistake ourselves for the mind and the body. Then we feel separated. Then we feel lonely. Then we feel dissatisfied. Feel anger. And then we begin to look outside ourselves to try and find ourselves. So this is called desire. Oh, if I meet the right boy or the right girl or the right job, then I'll be happy. And then, so all of our actions, all of our activities begin in the world of the mind, right? Before Google was ever invented, somebody thought about it. Somebody had the idea. Are a lot of you in research? It's all about ideas, right? What's the next idea? Well, all on the mind. But then eventually it gets put into action. So action, reaction. For every action, there's a reaction. And then we get caught in what's called the cycle of birth and death, or samsara. And basically we're creating our next moment by the quality of our consciousness in this moment, isn't it? And what determines our quality of consciousness? How present we are. Are we lost in the mind of the past? Are we looking in the present for what we didn't get in the past? And projecting it onto our girlfriend or boyfriend? And maintaining the illusion? Or are we present and noticing our life in this moment? So in this way, as mentioned in the yoga literatures, at the time of death, whatever is foremost in your mind will carry you to the next body. So it's a combination of everything we've done and everything we've been aspiring to. If we didn't get what we had, we didn't get our childhood needs met, we may spend our whole lifetime trying to get those needs met and then create the next body. So, there are different skillful ways to deal with each of these levels. So the way to deal with action and reaction is to begin to practice karma yoga. In karma yoga, we let go of selfishness. We start serving others without attachment to the result. This brings a certain level of clarity. And then when one is peaceful enough, one will begin jnana yoga, self-inquiry. Who am I? What am I really? What is my purpose here? And you can do this self-inquiry and get some realization, just like right now. All of us have a particular persona, right? My name is Matthew Monroe. I was born and raised in San Francisco. I used to work as a paramedic, and I've been engaged in Bhakti yoga now for most of my life. And I live in Pacifica. I'm a father. I have 3 kids, etc., etc. But this is all existing in my memory, in my mind, isn't it? It actually has nothing to do with the pure individual consciousness. It's all a list of memories. So in this moment, if you inquire, who am I? But you don't go into memory, what is the answer? In this moment, there's only Atma, there's only pure consciousness. In order to access the person we imagine ourselves to be, we have to go into our memory. So this is the practice of jnana yoga, or self-inquiry. We start to question, who am I really? Whereas before, when we're down in this area, we're just trying to survive, right? We're just trying to get our needs met. And we're looking for satisfaction, but not really finding it externally. But actually, after a while, we get frustrated with that process. We start to inquire about, well, what am I really? What will really bring me happiness? I remember John Lennon really impressed me. It's from my generation, but after he attained everything, he was the most famous rock star, and some person interviewed him. So they asked him, "Are you happy now?" And he said, it's like I climbed all these different walls, and I've attained the success that everyone else wants to attain, but I'm not feeling satisfied. And actually, he was very depressed about it for a while. So we all know this. A lot of people have so-called have everything, jumping off the moon corporation. And I used to see it in my job. I had lots of calls for suicide in Pacific Heights. You know Pacific Heights? Very exclusive area of San Francisco. Everybody has an ocean view, a bay view. Apparently they have everything. So then, once you inquire, you get a taste of, well, maybe there's more to life than just this mind and body. I have everything, but still I'm missing something. Then one will begin the process of introspection. So you can see, when you start to understand who I really am, and maybe I'm spirit, and your desires shift. You start to see that desiring outside hasn't worked so well. So let me try something else. Then when one begins meditation, one begins to directly experience. Maybe intellectually we can say, yes, I'm spirit, I'm pure consciousness. But we haven't experienced it yet. We haven't experienced what it feels like to be eternal, to be connected, to feel whole and complete. So we can begin the process of jhana yoga meditation, just like we just tasted that a little bit. There are different methods for this. But basically meditation just means being conscious that you're conscious and maintaining that focus. Even if you do it for 5 minutes, it will change your life. And then one starts to notice that I'm a pure awareness, but I'm not independent. This awareness is dependent on a much greater source. So then we're no longer in a state of ignoring, which produces ignorance. So when we're lost in the mind, when we're lost in thinking about the past or the future, we're actually in a state of ignorance, a state of unconsciousness. You guys like to watch movies? And when you go to the movie, when you go inside, it's light like this, but then the lights go down, the film comes on, and what's the first thing that happens to us? Forget you're watching a movie, right? We go unconscious. Forget all about our life, forget about ourselves. Of course, that's one reason we like to go to movies, right? Because life in the mind is not so happy. Let me go further. Let me go so far into the mind that I'm totally unconscious. Anyway. So then one begins the path of Bhakti. But one can begin Bhakti from the very beginning. If one has some preliminary faith in the Supreme or higher power. Now some people just don't have that. And for them, then they can go through the gradual yoga ladder. But if someone is fortunate and has a faith in, well, spiritual intelligence really, and to understand that there's a much higher source and power in my life, and one begins to engage in these practices, but with the aim of pleasing the source, or the Supreme source of our consciousness. If one connects his actions and his inquiries and his meditation to the source, then one is actually practicing what's called Bhakti. Bhakti means devotion. It means gratitude, appreciation for the source. So if you're looking at the sunrise, and you're appreciating it, and you're appreciating your life, And at the same time, you're appreciating the creator. It's like when we see a painting, right, like Van Gogh. We think it's a nice painting, but we're also appreciating the artist, aren't we? We're connected with it. If we're not appreciating the artist, then there's something lacking there. But when we appreciate the artist as well, then we're fully connected. The Bhakti is like that. And so within Bhakti Yoga, there's these other yogas. They're not separated. They're performed, but with the aim of pleasing the Supreme. And usually, there are certain actions or activities in Bhakti called hearing, speaking, remembering, offering prayers, worship, temple worship. So in like hearing the scriptures, hearing descriptions of the source, of the divine, speaking about him. Now this can also be called what we call kirtan, which is what we're going to learn today. Have any of you heard the word kirtan? Do you do kirtan?
A little bit. Yeah, it's part of yoga.
Yes. Do you practice yoga, or are you a yoga teacher?
It just finished my yoga teacher training this weekend.
Oh, congratulations. Which tradition or style?
A little bit of shamanic.
Yeah. And you learned about kirtan in the class.
Mm-hmm.
The kirtan is very interesting. It's not like it's in kirtan the singer and the audience are not separated. The singer may sing and then the audience repeats. And so they're basically become one in glorification of the Supreme. And then anything that indicates the Supreme takes on a spiritual vibration. So that's called a mantra. This is a mantra up here, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Everyone's heard the word mantra, right? It's part of our, it's in our dictionary now. I think it's like karma. But in Sanskrit, if you break up the two, man means mind, and tra means to free. So it's a sound vibration that helps free you from the continual identification with thought. It's because we're so identified with thought that we don't notice our life in this moment. So by repeating spiritual mantra, most of the mantras are just different names of the Supreme. It doesn't matter what language, it doesn't matter what religion, really. If the intention is to appreciate the Supreme, that one source, then it's a mantra, and it has this spiritual quality that will actually cleanse the mind of past previous impressions, even to the unconsciousness. So what mantra we're going to learn today is quite a common mantra in the yoga world. Mantras that begin with Om. Om is called a Bij mantra, or a seed mantra. And Om is, in Sanskrit, is the sound of the source and the sound of all energy. And people in meditation sometimes can hear that, as well as speaking. And I've heard in previous classes that you chanted Om together. So the original Vedic mantras, they all begin with this Om. And then Namo means I'm offering my respect, my gratitude to you, the Divine Source, Bhagavate, Bhagavan. Have you heard of the book Bhagavad Gita? So, Bhagavan or Bhagavan, this means God. Gita means song, song of God. But it's not a sectarian name, it's just a Sanskrit name. And Vasudevaya means the supreme being, and the supreme source of all living beings, or we could say the source of consciousness. And the source of my consciousness, your consciousness. In the absolute moment, the person we imagine ourselves to be doesn't exist unless we go into memory. There's just pure consciousness. And my experience of consciousness and your experience of consciousness is really the same. Even though I'm not experiencing what you're experiencing, and you're not experiencing what I'm experiencing, our experience of silence is the same. Our experience of connection is the same. Of love is the same. Same consciousness, although we're individualized. So we're multi-dimensional beings. So on this dimension, we're individualized. And that is also a permanent aspect. We have both aspects of individual and oneness simultaneously. Everything's possible. So we're going to listen to a tape recording of this mantra, and then we're going to listen to the singer sing it, and then as the chorus, we're going to repeat. And then just tune into the vibration, and just bring your attention to the present moment, and to yourself as the knower of the mantra. This is very important in meditation, is to maintain the awareness actively that I'm the one experiencing. Even if you look at your thoughts, as long as you know that you're thinking, you're not lost. But as soon as we forget that we're thinking, then we're lost in the mind. So it's to maintain. It's like you ever have that experience where you're driving in your car and you get to somewhere and you don't know how you got there because you were so absorbed in thinking. But then you noticed you were thinking. Well, who notices the thinking? What is that? That's you. That's the consciousness that we don't usually notice. So let's repeat this after me. Om, Om, Namo, Namo, Bhagavate, Bhagavate, Vasudevaya, Vasudevaya, Om Namo, Om Namo, Bhagavate, Bhagavate, Vasudevaya, Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate, Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate, Vasudevaya. Sanskrit is a native language, so no matter what the mantra is, it can be sung. It has a particular meaning. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So when we sing this together, this will be hearing and speaking of kirtan. Which is part of the Bhakti. Yeah. Okay. Now I'll sing and you repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hey, give yourself a big hand. Nice. Did you learn this mantra in your yoga class?
Om Namo, but I don't remember the last part.
Many mantras begin with Om Namo. So we covered a lot of information today. Do you have any questions, or is there anything you want to share?
Just let the mind go.
Oh, should we let the mind go? No, well, remembering means really intentionally bringing your awareness, consciousness, to the feeling of your life in this moment. So it's almost going beyond thinking and just being in a state of knowing. And there's not a lot of thoughts, but if there are thoughts, you gently notice them and bring yourself back to the awareness of my life in this moment. And from that awareness of your life springs devotion, appreciation, source. Otherwise, especially in the beginning, one is actively using the mind and trying to visualize or imagine things, then you'll never notice that you're the watcher. Your consciousness will be absorbed into the mind and you think of the mind. And some practitioners, they focus on the deity or an image. That's okay. But the main thing is you want to notice the difference between yourself and the mind. That which is noticing the thought is you. And the thoughts are part of the mind, and they're not real. And they don't have life themselves. Although, because we identify with the mind, we project life into the mind, and we get a sense of ourselves outside the present moment. Right? And we're remembering the past and what they said to us or what they did to us. seems very real and important, like it happened to me, as if it's happening now, but it's not. It's like the movie's not. It's just the identification. So we want to maintain the awareness that I'm the wife, I'm the host, I'm the one who's repeating the mantra with devotion. If we're not present when we're performing yoga, even Bhakti yoga, then the tendency is for us to remain lost in the mind and then to maintain our material identity and not see the difference between the pure consciousness that's always there, always now, and the person we're imagining we most like to be, which is temporary and illusory. And this really is the source of our unhappiness and suffering. So the beginning of yoga is to become free from suffering, free from false, free from the ignorance. The way we become free from ignorance is to stop ignoring. Stop ignoring ourselves, our true self, and stop ignoring the source of ourself. That's the real solution to all of these other problems that develop from the initial ignorement. So I would recommend, as a regular daily practice of whenever you remember to just gently notice where your attention is in this moment and bring it to something that's in the present moment with you, like a chair, or the sky, or a tree, or this mantra. And then shift again and notice your life in this moment. Just take a moment to feel your life in the body and exist unconscious. And put your attention there. Not so much in thinking about it. Just feel it for a moment. Many, many times a day. And the more you do that, the more present moment will reveal itself to you. You'll begin to see God within yourself and really within everything. Which we can't experience through the mind. It can only be experienced through the self. So we want to take our attention out of the mind, it's certain times of the day, especially in the morning and evening. And if you get a chance during the day, take a present moment there. And you can also repeat this mantra internally, silently. Focus on your heart area and repeat the mantra and just feel your life, feel gratitude for your life. A few times a day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please prepare some banana milkshake made fully from fruit samples. Sorry, I didn't have time to make a pastry. Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.